Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf here on the Just Shelve It channel. I'm Jesse Arnold, and with me is my co-host, Curtis Ackerman. How are you doing tonight, Curtis?
Doing excellent. Hello, everybody.
It's been a week. Lots of stuff going on in the world of toys, but we don't do that sort of thing here. We're not the news channel, so you guys
No.
can go look at other places for that stuff. We're here to have fun and talk to cool people. And tonight we have the one and only Jeremy DeWitt, aka Uwitt from the Furious Four Horsemen Legion's Compact, who have their solo figure debut on the website this weekend, Store Horseman. I will do that plug because, why not? If you want to get Jeremy as an action figure, you can go to storehorseman.com right now and get him as an action figure. But without any further ado, let's bring the man on. Everybody give a warm digital round of applause to Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Thank you. Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing excellent.
And nobody needs an action figure of me. Don't. It's no.
It's cool.
A cool. It's cool, but no, you don't need that.
Yeah. They do for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's an action figure of you, so that's good enough in itself. But then it's also a badass figure.
It is a pretty cool figure, though. Yeah. Like regardless,
yeah, they killed it.
Yeah,
so
very, very cool.
It's got so many different parts and stuff to switch out. Not just the heads, but it's a lot of stuff with it. So
I'm terrible though because I ended up having to buy 2 packs, of course, to get all 4 figures.
Mm-hmm.
But I will not deviate from the way that they're supposed to look.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to put big old pauldrons on Uwitt and stuff and just make him look all badass. I'm like, that's not his natural intention. That's not what they wanted. So I can't I'm terrible that way, but
that's funny.
Still,
yeah, I switched yours up first thing. I was like, no, I'm giving him the spiky pauldrons, making him badass.
Yeah. I think in reality he'd probably have to dress up a little more badass because he's just such a wuss, He doesn't want. I'm good. No controversy or anything. Just So you got to build it up, look big.
Right.
It's like what I used to do, in high school. Get the biker leather jacket and always have the hair down and look, bleh. And they're just, they poke me in the belly. I'm like, yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, we're going to get into a little segment we called Shelf Selections, where we kind of pulled out some pictures that we saw this week that inspired us.
Sweet.
It's usually some sort of art, whether it's sculpting or painting or photography. So we'll pop through there and feel free to comment along as we go. Or just look pretty. That works too.
Well, before we get into these, I'll just say a quick hello to everyone in the chat. If you say a comment and I miss it, or we miss it, or we don't acknowledge you, it's not that we don't love you. Thank you for being here. But hey, Dave and Joe and Danny and Jay and Nate and Joe, I think that's everybody so far. So hello, thanks for joining us, guys. And let's just get into the shelf selections with Curtis's first pick.
Yeah, this one, it was Pablo Lopez toy box photography, and then I think it was Lenny Kingpin did the figure itself. Just thought this was a really cool shot and custom. It's got those McFarlane, what is that? The Dark Redeemer wings, and then it's got a set. I believe that's from Legion shop with the helmet and shoulders. They added some fur to it, and then just the way that they've got him, kind of posed there over Belphegor, and I just thought this was a really cool shot altogether. So
yeah, it's pretty fun. I like the dial work in the background too, just all the different textures and
that's what I was going to comment on. It makes me want more dios in my collection because stuff like that just really, God, it can make a figure go from looking pretty okay to real grand.
Yeah.
The thing that always gets me on these is the lighting. I've got some decent dios and, I've got some decent customs, but, getting the lighting just right, they got the different colors in the background and you get the light from the right direction on the figure and stuff. That's always the thing that I struggle with. So good one.
Up next, this was from Mythos Corridor. I only grabbed the one shot. I should have grabbed two of them, but they made this kind of recharging chamber thing, and they posed one of the I think it was one of the Sphexians test shots in this.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was really cool, like Geiger-esque pod. And they made it out of like a craft store, like foam apple is the base of the chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they like cut it and then the foam and other stuff, but that round part in the back was like a craft store apple. So I just thought it was really cool. A fun, just really random thing for not random, but unique thing for a cosmic or sci-fi setting.
Yeah, I think we're going to see.
Creative.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a whole new bunch of stuff like this for Cosmic that you really, either didn't or couldn't really do with Mythic. So we'll see some creativity for sure.
Absolutely. Up next, another one. The next one from Curtis.
Yeah, I believe this is Carlos. And this shot I just thought was another good one. I didn't even realize that I got 2 Templar here, ones back to back, but it's got, I believe that's I want to say that's a My Action Figure Customs head. That's definitely a shield from Len. And then it's got the Max Bird soft goods on there that has kind of the tattered loin piece and cape. And then just we were talking before with the Dio work, just awesome stuff in the front. You see there's kind of like a flame thing in the background that's blurred out and just kind of a foggy, light behind him. And I just thought this was really cool altogether.
Yeah, that being backlit like that, where it's just shining off, kind of off the back of him like that. Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Mayfag head.
Yeah.
I picked one from Action Figurist, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, the person's actual name at the moment. But I just love this kind of up close, tight shot of that. I don't even know what horns are those. Are those Thwick horns painted?
It
white?
might be, yeah.
But yeah, I love the skeleton too builders. So I love seeing those getting action on the screen. So.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those 2.0 skeletons, and I have yet to actually like customize one or even put one in my Dio yet, but they are really cool looking. So,
yeah, I love that. Very cool.
And I love the weathering on the helmet. I mean, that's more the horseman thing, but just that kind of, the pitted, dented helmet there and everything. It's just so cool.
Yeah, it ties in real well with the armor for sure.
Yeah.
So. This one's mine. I picked this. This is from Honed Axe, and he's done, I don't know, probably about 5 of these dwarves where it's kind of like the dark skin and then that fiery beard. And I just, the armor and everything looks cool on this, but just the way that he does those beards where it kind of tapers from the red down into the yellow and the blending that he does on there, it really looks awesome.
It almost makes it look like it's on fire in a way,
Yeah. So like I said, he's done a few of these. I think this one's my favorite that he's done so far. And yeah, it's just really cool looking. I need to do something like this in my collection because it's just so cool that I want to have one that I can look at on a daily basis. So.
Yeah. I love when I see someone do a Durgar. I haven't brought myself to make one yet because I just don't have enough heroic dwarves in my opinion. So I haven't done this yet myself, but someday. Continuing the dwarves, Chris Ferrone over at Mythic Bits with Shane Man, they have started working on, I couldn't find on their Instagram, I thought they posted one that was a little more detailed, but they are starting to make female chest plates for those 1.0 bodies like the Bardrick and some of the stuff from the Alithia wave. So you can turn your 1.0s into females if you want. And I'm very excited about that because we need some bigger ladies in Mythic Legions.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that people have been asking for a long time, not specifically the chest plate, but just bodies for, female dwarves. So I think this solves a need that's been there for a while. And then, we've got those new bodies now with the removable chest plates that just make this, fit in perfectly. And if you don't have one of those bodies that have the removable chest plate, they're available right now from Store Horseman in the form of the Lord Bashadi figure, which would allow you to turn your Lord Bashadi into a female, which would just make him happy.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Count me in.
So there you go.
So yeah, I believe he said they're working on 3 different designs. This is just a generic, just I guess testing the fit, but they're working on some like sculpting on it. So
yeah, and I actually like the generic look.
Yeah, it works
so
too.
I think it looks good. I mean, for an armor standpoint, if you paint that up, I mean, obviously right now it's not painted, but if you were to paint that up to match the rest of that armor, I think it would look perfect just like that. So
yeah, or it could be like the fabric, like the tabard, across the top,
textured or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes less is more. So
absolutely.
Nate says Lord Boob Shoddy.
Oh,
nice. This one's from me. This is Carver Customs, and it's basically a Suro-Ain just with the colored parts painted a different color. So instead of that, what would you call that? Like an orangish, yellowish color that he's got normally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a lesser gold.
Yeah. Instead he painted it with this blue, which I think he'd mentioned in the comments that was some sort of, I want to say it's like a gunmetal blue or something that he found at the store. And I just thought it just looked really cool. He had one shot, I didn't get it on here, but he had one that was actually next to an actual Suro-Ain. They were like in the picture together, and it just kind of looked cool, the two of them together. I like the fur that he did under the shoulder pads, and overall it's one of those where I felt like sometimes if you just do the trim and some of that, which is I mean, it's tedious and it takes a while, but it's not difficult to do. It can create a whole new look like this one, and I liked it really.
I like anything that reminds me of snow or
Okay.
blizzardy themes or something. So that those colors, the blue and the white, like that. Yeah, I dig.
Yeah, I that's what when I see this, especially with the white fur coming out from the pauldrons, just makes me think like, all right, this is guy at some far northern, not quite polar keep.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Knows how to brave a cold winter for sure.
Yeah. You see that if he's breathing, like the steam would just be coming right out of that visor slit, And completely off mythics, but this is from my buddy Tyler, Failed Imagineers, over on Instagram. He's did up a couple of the Geonosians I believe these are 6-inch, so they're the Black Series scale. Someone else designed them, but he printed and painted them, and just wanted to show some love to him and just how awesome these are. I'm not sure where, but if you go to Failed Imagineers, I'm sure he has a link to where you can get the actual the pieces and stuff. But
that's cool. I like the wings. I don't know if they are translucent or if it's just painted to look like that, but they look really cool.
Yeah, I think he got them pretty thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You can see some of that light coming through.
I mean, for
Very cool.
Group of characters that are almost comical in the movie, this feels more ominous and threatening to me.
Yeah,
I just like that.
Cool.
And that's it for the shelf selections tonight, David.
Look at that.
Well, there you go. So this is usually the point where we start getting into stuff with our guest, and depending on what stuff they're into or they like, we kind of head down that kind of path. And
I like anything.
The problem is you're into everything. I mean, you're an artist, you're a musician, you collect a ton of stuff, you watch a lot of stuff. So let's just kind of start with what kind of things that you're doing. What did you do today? What kind of things were you working on?
What did I do today? Well, I woke up. So I did the after the podcast, I went out and I had to work. I came home, had to work on some art because that's been my life the last few weeks. Besides doing stuff for secret stuff that I can't talk about. But besides doing some stuff for projects, I'm also working on personal art for MuskeeCon, which is coming up on March 11th in Muskegon, Michigan. There you go, you're on it. And also, I mean, I was trying to do some logo work for it, but I think I might be that has now shifted into me doing a commercial. So we'll see what happens. I ended up writing a theme song for it yesterday, so that we're going to try to do a little video for that. You know, just something cheap and kind of gets the point across. You know, I am no movie maker or anything like that, but
yeah, the jingle was played on the "My Wife Is Going to Kill Me" podcast this morning, so it's very
gets stuck in your head. Yeah,
it's an earworm. So if you guys are interested in getting a sneak peek of that, you can check out "My Wife Is Going to Kill Me" on YouTube, and they've got that up. So as far as your art for MuskeeCon, I know you typically sell like prints and stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I kind of do the sellout thing where I try to aim for what I think people will like, but then I'm also kind of still that I guess rebel kid that wants to do whatever the hell he wants to do also. So while balancing out some superhero art or whatever, on the other side, I'm also doing some, you know, dumb stuff that I've created myself, you know, original stuff that I know like maybe only like one person will buy or whatever, but it doesn't matter because, you know, it's my stuff. So, you know, I like that more, but so I've been working on some decent things, some originals. And then I just finished up a drawing of Wednesday Addams for, cool. Based on the Wednesday series. So
cool.
Yeah.
And I heard that you do some like crossover art, like characters and genres together and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of mashup stuff, taking one property, mixing it with another. And so I've done stuff like that. For example, let me think of one. So like Linus and Lucy, you know, sitting there at the piano from Peanuts. Instead, I did like Joker and Harley.
Oh, okay. Cool.
You know, in the Peanut style, you know. And then another one was like Mickey Mario, where it looks like the old 1930s, or I think it was 1930s Mickey Mouse, you know, the black and white, but then instead I made Mario and you know, so nothing that really uses a lot of I guess super creativity, but it's just fun to kind of mash stuff together and see what people dig.
Oh, that sounds cool. Didn't you have like one that a Peacemaker one that was pretty popular last year?
Yeah, that was last year. I did. It was a Scooby-Doo, so they're all, because in Peacemaker they all ride around in a van together. So I did like a Scooby-Doo, like the front view, and then it's all them in the Scooby-Doo style. So that's cool. Hanna-Barbera kind of style. Cool. Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in those prints, they can see you at MuskeeCon, and that is March what now, Jesse?
Oh, sorry, I moved on to a different slide.
There you go.
Does that have, there it
Saturday,
is.
March 11th. Yep. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
$5 admission. Kids are free. I've heard that in the jingle.
12 and under.
So, at the Wakanda Mortgage Convention Center.
Yep. And the fun doesn't end until 5 p.m.
Until 5 p.m. Yep.
Then 5
after
p.m.
That,
all conversations stop.
Yep. Yeah. Cut off from fun after 5. So
awesome. So kind of touched on a little bit of your art there and some things that'll be for sale. What about, and then, you know, you made the jingle for the song. So tell us a little bit about and we know you had a band and you're definitely heavily into music. Where did that all come from? And can you talk a little bit about that?
God, I think my first instrument might've been like a Smurfs guitar back in the, you know, in the early 80s. I'm just, music has been a really big thing. And when like Nirvana and like Metallica's Black Album, like, you know, those defining years, like I was 12 years old and all of a sudden like the grunge stuff was coming out and like, you know, metal was getting a little more popular on the radio, like the heavier stuff. And that's what I was drawn to. And I just wanted to be a rock star so bad, you know, which ended up translating into me, you know, being in like metal bands for years and years and going absolutely nowhere with them. But then eventually you're like, well, I do have a little, like I could play the guitar okay, so what can I do with that to actually make some money since I'm like old and getting a family and all that stuff? So you start a cover band and do all this stuff. We went the complete opposite direction and started doing a bunch of dance music. So like a lot of like 90s hip hop and soul and stuff like that. And, and then older stuff, Prince and Michael Jackson and even before that, some Marvin Gaye and just like anything. Our rules were like #1 dance hits. And I mean, what's better? You can go out and see, Pearl Jam and they'll play, whatever. They got a few #1 hits, or I'm assuming, I don't know for a fact, but for example, but like us, our band was called Yard Sale Underwear. You would come out and we would guarantee play #1 hits like all night long,
Right.
So you're definitely going to have a good time. And they did until it got a little bit too crazy. And we were together like 14 years, something like that, 15 years. Yeah. And we definitely changed the kind of toot our horn a little bit. We changed the landscape around here, because before that it was all like bands playing, like Crazy Bitch and Nickelback and stuff like that. And like all of a sudden us dorks come out and we're wearing like stupid hats and like, masks and just having a blast, and just playing this crazy music. So like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got a little too crazy near the end. Had to take a break, but we are kind of in talks again right now to maybe play a few shows. So,
there you go.
I don't know if that's our wallets hurting or if we like genuinely want to get together and play, but I guess we'll find out. But yeah, and then, aside from that, I also just started an Alice in Chains tribute band. That Jerry Cantrell is probably my favorite guitar player of all time, so it's kind of awesome being able to do that kind of stuff. Not quite ready to play out yet, but we're getting there. So other than that, I write my own music. I do have a lot of original music I've been working on, but I'm a perfectionist, and when you have all the time in the world to work on your stuff, you're going to use all the time in the world, so it'll probably never come out. But in the meantime, I do little jingles like the MesquiCon thing, or I worked on some PowerCon stuff last year as well, and I'll probably be doing some more of that stuff coming up soon here too. So
cool.
Yeah, I know you do some individual projects, both art and music for different things. Can you just share some of the things that you've done that people may know your work from? And I'll just give an example, like the action figure adventure. I know you did the artwork for, and I know you've got a few shows that you've done theme songs for and stuff. Can you kind of talk about a little bit of that?
Yeah. So our buddy Matthew Rodriguez, his wife is the Toy Huntress on YouTube, and I've done her little theme song. Yes, that is me singing all the little girl parts. That's it. It was super fun. I did that. Let's see. I've done stuff with Emil Wickman. He did a little Trap Jaw video a couple years back. Trap Jaw being his favorite Masters of the Universe character. And I did some music for that. He dug that. He did, of course, the Mythic Legions video, where he was dressed up as all the different characters and stuff. Just hilarious. And so I worked with him on that. We weren't sure, because I'm a huge fan of like 80s sitcom themes and stuff. And like old commercials, stuff like that, Double McGum and all that. Oh, they're so cheesy. They're great. So I kind of worked with that idea, but we ended up going with an instrumental, but ended up sounding great, and it went perfect over his goofy stuff. So, God, I don't know what else. Is there anything I'm missing? Probably.
Obviously, my wife is going to kill me one.
Yep. The podcast.
I love the Podcast of the Universe one. That one, like, I was sad because I liked the original Podcasters of the Universe theme. So when the new one came out, I was kind of sad because I missed the old one, but the new one's so good. It's
that's how I felt too, because who wants to hear an original song over something that they know, repeatedly over and over again. So, excuse me, having the Masters of the Universe theme, instrumental is a lot of fun, but I'm like, let's just do something crazy. So of course I just show up and go, "Here's Steve, I did this."
Yeah. Plus the podcast universe. For those of you that aren't aware, Podcast of the Universe is a Masters of the Universe podcast, hosted by Jeremy DeWitt and Stephen Bisciotti. They've been doing it for years, and I was listening to that long before I was listening to My Wife Is Going to Kill Me or getting into Legions, and I just love that show. And so I think the theme song is a good introduction to what you guys do, and it also, like, to me, you guys have the best love story in all of history. And so I think it kind of tells that love story of how you two connected.
Yeah. It was a good time meeting old Steve. That's the first podcast, of course, I ever did. And I don't ever want to quit. Like, it's been 5 years now. And it's probably, no, I laugh on My Wife Is Going to Kill Me, but like, this is like a laugh coming from my childhood. Like little Jeremy is like hanging out in this big, fat, oafy, dirty, hairy body, and just having a blast going, oh, remember He-Man? And it's like every episode's like, remember He-Man? Yeah, let's talk about him again. So it's like, yeah, it's probably one of the most, I don't know, it's the most genuine thing in the world, being able to sit there with Steve and act like a 8-year-old.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead, Jesse.
That's one of the beautiful thing I think about, like, the sincere love that you guys show for toys, and just especially that property. I've only listened to a couple episodes of that myself, but like, just getting to have that childlike wonder still come out all these years later, it's just fun.
Yeah, and that was the whole point too. It was like, well, everybody else had done a He-Man podcast by this point, and they were like good. So if you already have really good podcasts, what can we add to the mix? Well, not much really. So we're like, let's just like rediscover our childhood. Let's start from the beginning and kind of just enjoy, figure out maybe what we enjoy about Masters of the Universe or whatever. So we started from the beginning. We started reading the mini comics, and we accidentally started doing voices for all the comics, and that ended up there are some moments on those episodes where you'll probably hear me laughing the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life. So, and it's just me, usually it's just me and him, but we had some guests come in. Justice Curry came in and did, I can't remember the name of the character, but he did this voice, and we're dying. We're like, oh my God. Cause you don't normally go around talking in voices with your buddies too often, so to like have this moment where you're like totally stepping kind of out of your comfort zone and just being idiots. Like that's my favorite. Like, I love being an idiot. So
Drunk Keen Randor was on one of the ones there, like that. Like, yeah. That was, I was.
Adam, what are you doing? It's like, why is he drunk? You don't know.
Well, I think we had Steven on here not too long ago, and we were talking about the difference in style and personality on My Wife Is Going to Kill Me versus Podcasters of the Universe. And the question was kind of, and I knew the answer, but the question was really, which one's the real Steven? And the answer is kind of a little bit of both. Because they definitely sound like two totally different people if you listen to the two shows. Yeah. And you're the same way. But I think there's something about when you two to get together and you start talking about Masters of the Universe, where not only do you guys, it feels like you transform into 5-year-olds, but so does the audience. Like, it's really like, hey, we're just going to have fun and remember that time when we were kids and we were, bashing these toys together and all this kind of stuff. So there's something very genuine about it.
It's weird to, talking about the two different podcasts, for example, like, so we're all like different people with, whoever's around us, I'm going to act differently one-on-one with Curtis and, differently one-on-one with Jesse. Like, that's just kind of how everybody is, you read the room, if maybe that person over there doesn't like you talking, with swears or whatever, maybe you won't say it as much. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the thought process with POTU. We really wanted to kind of keep that childish like feel and that innocent, where you could anybody could sit there and listen. I mean, not that we, some things don't shine through occasionally, we are still idiots. But you know, and with My Wife's Gonna Kill Me, I think we're trying to make each other laugh, or you know, whether that's good or bad, I don't know sometimes. But you know, if it makes us laugh, I guess that's a good thing, you know. And sometimes, you know, you'll amp up a little part of you. Maybe you're a little bit like that, and that's kind of how Steve goes, and he'll say, you know, that it's an act, and it's not, but it is. You know, it's you know, he amplifies it a little bit. So I think we all kind of do that over there.
Yeah, I think you guys do a real good job. For those that want a, you know, G-rated podcast, the Podcasters Universe really does give that. Makes it hard at times when you're podcasting and Travis walks in the room naked. But otherwise, you guys do a pretty good job.
Well, there's no documented proof of that. So
that's true. That's
you
true.
know, allegedly. Oh, hey, baby! Sorry, Steve's in the chat. So
Yeah.
One thing we had mentioned too when Steven was on was when you guys got started with Podcasters Universe, there really was nothing to talk about. Like there was, you know, we didn't have multiple cartoons. We didn't have, you know, toy lines that were in the stores. Like now we've got multiple Masters toy lines. We got multiple cartoons. There's always been talk of a movie, which who knows if that'll ever get made. But I mean, there was really not much to talk about. So you guys had to come up with some creative segments for your show that are still lasting to today, that are really fun and interesting. So can you kind of talk about those early days and like what your guys' thought process was?
So like I said before, we did kind of go at it as like we were rediscovering it from the beginning, because there wasn't new stuff coming out. So we're like, well, let's kind of just review everything. And then slowly, as you know, all of a sudden, you know, I believe that we still had like classics and stuff coming out, just not real regular.
I think it was guys were right towards the end of Mattel doing classics and Super 7
Super 7 coming in.
Yeah.
And so like going through that whole experience, you know, watching it go over to like this different toy line or this toy company, and like the growing pains of that, but like us trying to stay vigilant, you know, like we know you can do it, Super 7 type of thing. And then just boom, all of a sudden Mattel's got it back, and now like you can't look anywhere, at least, you know, online or whatever, where there's not like some Origins or Masterverse or, you know, whatever, some Revelation stuff or the CGI or
New
whatever
Eternia,
it is. Some Mattel creations and just whatever, like it's all over the place. So it's it was easy to transition to that stuff because it's like, well, okay, here's stuff we can talk about, you know, it's coming out. Prior to that though, we would, you know, and I used to really like get flustered because we wouldn't have like this special topic to talk about on the show. And I remember like getting a hold of Steve, like, dude, what are we going to talk about? We got to have something to talk about. He'd be like, baby, it's going to be fine. Like, I don't know. We'll see, you know? So yeah, we used to have, and we do on occasion still, but it's kind of melded into the listener feedback and stuff. But we would do like random ideas, heavy on the dumb, DUMB, and we just come up with stupid stuff like, you know, if A-Team were to be cast with Masters of the Universe characters, you know, who would be who and why, and that we did a few like that. You know, what was some other stuff, like if there was an Olympic event, you know, what would all the characters do? It was always like, if there was this, what would Masters characters do in the place of it?
Right.
Which got us to laugh a lot. So, like I said, you know, end result, just got to be happy. So,
well, I think my favorite segment that you guys have done is the Potu Cannon.
Yeah, great idea from Steve.
Yeah, it's one of those where, you know, we've kind of talked on this show with a few of our guests, especially with Dooch and Skavarna, and where the Masters fandom is a little hard to please. Like everybody, everybody kind of has their own idea of what it should be. And there's different, you know, kind of tellings of the tale from the mini comics to Filmation to 2000X. And so when you guys put your own spin on those characters and their backstories, I find a lot of enjoyment out of that you guys, a lot of it, you're not, you guys don't do a lot of homework. So it's not like you prepare these things and think about it ahead of time. So it's really genuine on the fly, just kind of coming up and brainstorming together. And I just love it.
Well, I think we found out that the more homework you do, like the kind of worse that it turns out. Like it's not as fresh, and it's not like you just, it's not organic, it's like I put in all this thought and here's my homework. Here's what I came up with. And here's why this should be this. And, when we sat down and we were scared to do Skeletor because there's like, there's some differences between Skeletors, and we were not sure, you're kind of scared because like, you don't want to like, I don't know that we don't want to like upset each other, but it's like, we want to agree.
Right.
So, with Skeletor, for some reason, it's like everything just like was falling right into place and like came up like, what was we decided to make Keldor and Skeletor two completely different people. And of course, super controversial. I'm sure people listening who are Masters fans right now are like, what? But some people don't like Keldor, some do, whatever. So we had this idea to like separate the two and kind of have like Keldor be the one who pulled Skeletor into this world and all this stuff. And it like, we were both just so excited about it. It's like, how can you not love it? If we both all of a sudden just naturally agree, it's like, well, that's fun. Let's do that again.
I remember when I listened to that, I was like, because then you guys have said something about like, well, what if Skeletor killed Keldor when he came through or something? And I'm thinking, oh, well, if you're living in Eternia and kind of Keldor went off to do his thing and he was angry, and then next thing Skeletor arrives, maybe they think that they're the same person.
Yeah,
but they're not. So it created this where you got the best of Keldor and the best of Skeletor without them necessarily being the same person.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's one of those Potu canons that I've listened to that I haven't afterward go, that's the best version of that character. you know what I'm saying? Like, and you guys are just doing it on the fly. You're just like,
from a couple of chuckleheads, man.
Yeah.
We're just morons. And what we have always said, like, we are not the guys to go to for any sort of like knowledge or like facts. Like, we ain't got them. Like, we're coming at it innocently, and we're a little dumb, and but it's okay. It's like genuine. We love it.
But it's fun.
Yeah. Nothing but love.
Definitely a more I think fun way to take it than like everything that gets thought about. It's just going to please this portion of the audience. Well, we can't do that because they're not going to like this. Like the whole marketing division, all this stuff has to go through, especially nowadays. To make sure everything's. I mean, you don't want to make any big mistakes, but it's
right.
more fun just to Sean and I do that when he comes over. We'll be talking about stuff. So I haven't listened to Potu enough to really give too much feedback on that, but the one or two I listened to have been fun. And
I think you have a good time. I definitely do.
I think that that's kind of what, as fans, when we watch these things that are properties that we care about, we just want that there's somebody in that room like you and Steve that genuinely loves the property, that cares about it. I understand,
like, even if you don't agree with something we say or like an opinion we have, we're not like dicks about it. We're not like, this is, I mean, Buzz Off is a jerk, but like, we still love him, like we'd still hang out with him type of thing, like.
It's like, I understand that in this day and age, you need, those people in the room that are making these things. That's like from the legal team, and, we need these folks that are focusing on diversity, and these folks that are doing this, but just have one person in the room that just cares about the property and the history of it. I think
quit trying to overthink it.
Right.
There's no reason to overthink something that already works. So
have some fun.
At least it worked for us. I mean, if their target audience is like other people, then, maybe you shouldn't be working on that project. I don't know.
Speaking of having fun, one of the earliest things I remember from listening to your guys' show, because, I'm a person that I like listening to the podcast, but I like seeing stuff. I like seeing what's going on. I like when you guys go live and show your toy reviews and things like that. And I think the thing that hooked me, and I was like, hooked on Podcasters of the Universe for life, was that first what's the He-Man, the PowerCon, first PowerCon that you guys went to,
when we like documented everything.
You documented the whole trip, and you did the Skeletor voices throughout, and you had Matt Rod with you, and you just had so much fun.
It wasn't just the voices; we actually brought action figures with us.
Yeah,
and me and Steve did like little skits throughout the whole. So you see us like, here we are picking up Steve from his house, and we're like, here we are. You got to get your stuff. And then like we go to Chicago, and it's like, well, now we're in Chicago, and blah blah blah.
Right.
And, we go on the airplane and all this stuff, and then at PowerCon, this just makes me so happy. So there's two things at that PowerCon that we documented. One of them being, so James Etok was doing a little bit of his
faking filmation.
Yeah, just a little, like he wasn't allowed to show too much, but he was able to show a little bit. And
at that point it was just Fager Returns, wasn't it?
Yes, yep. And I was carrying Battle Armor Skeletor, but like his barrel got stuck to and I could not roll it back no matter however I tried, it just went back. So I'm like, whatever. So then I went up to James right before, and I'm like, hey, James, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, hey, Skeletor. And he takes his finger and he just, boom, and it went. I'm like, wow! Like, how'd you do that, man? It's like he barely even touched it. It was just like the magic touch of James Etok. Like, yeah.
That's funny.
So good. What was the other one? There was something else that I did.
Isn't that the one where you guys met Cornboy for the first time?
We did meet Cornboy for the first time. I don't know that we did the toys though, because Steve was super nervous, and I was just trying to be as professional as I could, and luckily he actually decided to sit down and talk with Steve and stuff, and thus we started a relationship after he got mad because Steve spelled Four Horsemen wrong in the description of the video or whatever, and like, he's like, could you tell him to spell it right? And like, oh god, we are just ruining everything. He started listening to
Four Horsemen. Is like, would he put like Four Whores Man or something?
Steve spells damn DAM, so I don't know. He's a very, very cute and intelligent person, and he just doesn't care for the about the finer details of grammar and whatnot. So, and that's what a top G does. They don't care.
There you go.
So, but no, the other thing that happened was so at the time the Ninja Turtle cartoon was still at Nickelodeon, the CGI one. Great, absolutely great cartoon. But I have a Ninja Turtle group called TMNT Lives Forever, and in that group there were like legit people like who were in the turtle business, Kevin Eastman's wife, the original voice of April, Renee Jacobs, Ernie Reyes Jr. So we had all these people. We also had people who were actually working on the cartoon, and one of them being JJ Conway. He was doing, I think, panels at this point, but then he had gone into like assistant directing and then actually directing, and he played a big role in Rise of the TMNT and stuff. So anyway, him and I were friends, and like he's like, well, where are you? And I said, well, I'm at PowerCon at this hotel. Boom, he shows up. So we're hanging out with him, and we're getting drunk and like playing with it. Well, he wasn't, but I was. Skeletor was, I mean. So it's like, hang out while he's with Pixel Dan and like all these people and stuff, and we were playing this thing where like He-Man got too drunk and he's like throwing up, and like he lost his arm and all this. It was so stupid, but it's all documented though. But then the next day, JJ had actually drawn a picture of like He-Man throwing up in the bathtub, like with his arm missing, and Skeletor like helping him out, and like it was just like the coolest thing ever. Like, this guy who works on this cartoon that I love is drawing drunk, hungover He-Man in a bathtub because of some stupid shenanigans I did last night. Like, it was just amazing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I think the thing that really warmed me up to you guys at that time was just you guys were having so much fun, but then it was also like seeing what a PowerCon would be from Skeletor and He-Man's perspective. And it was just, it was so stupid, but yet just classically hilarious. So yeah, I was hooked for life at that point.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that it was, our early days. We had ambition.
Yeah.
We put forth some effort and did some stuff. So it was a lot of fun. Not that we don't put stuff together now, but now it's just so natural, We don't have to like overthink and whatever.
So
whatever I'm trying to make up.
I know we talked a little bit about Master of the Universe. You just mentioned a little bit about Turtles, which is kind of your other great love. I'm going to talk about that for a little bit, like just kind of where that all came from and how, I don't want to have you pick between Masters and Turtles because that's not fair, but just talk a little bit about your love for the Turtles.
So I don't know if I was a little late to the game, but I wasn't there right at the very beginning of Turtles, but I do remember a kid in, I think it was 4th grade, we did this thing in for Christmas where like you'd bring a toy if you were a boy, you brought a toy for a boy, and if you were a girl, blah, blah, blah. So my buddy ended up getting this Ninja Turtle, and I was hanging out with him over Christmas break, and I'm just like, what is that? Like, it was Donatello. I remember that specifically. And I'm like, that is the weirdest, kind of coolest thing, because I'm just coming off Ghostbusters. He-Man was a few years before. I was a huge real Ghostbusters fan too, still am. But yeah, just started seeing that, and all of a sudden, start getting, all the kids are starting to talk about it more. And, I was right there, 9 years old or whatever when it came out, and just 8, 9, somewhere around there. Of course, got into the cartoon like everybody else, I think. But then as I got older, went and I reached back a little bit. I found some of the original comics. Of course, saw the movie at the time. Great mix of the comics and the cartoon. And it was just like, I was just overboard for it. And matter of fact, my very first tattoo was actually Michelangelo before a He-Man tattoo. So
wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So yeah, jumped onto that. And I was way deep into it. Like anything Turtles, I had to have it. The cassette when it came out from Pizza Hut and stuff. Like I listened to that over and over. I could probably sing every word to it to this day. Like the coming out of their shells thing and all that stuff. So yeah, huge Turtles fan. And I probably I don't know if that's the biggest collection that I have is my Turtle stuff, but it definitely rivals that and He-Man. They're very, very close.
Nice.
Well, I do know we've got some pictures that you sent us now. Now you sent us, I don't know, about 60 pictures of your collection.
I was like, if you find something good, use it, man. Because
I know Jesse went through and selected some, but you've got on the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me podcast, you're known as the Junkman.
Yeah.
Affectionately.
Yes.
And you do collect a lot of stuff. And I was amazed at seeing the pictures that you sent us. So we do have some of those, don't we have, Jesse, that we can pull up?
Sweet.
Kind of talk through some of these. So
yeah. So I was a huge Nintendo kid, and even before Nintendo, my first video game love was Pac-Man. And so I have a huge Pac-Man collection. You can see right there the arcade one up that my lovely Laura bought for me for Father's Day last year, I believe. Okay. And then, of course, a bunch of Nintendo games there. There's also some Super Nintendo, Pixel toys up there on the top, and some lights and blah, blah, blah. But I also have like Atari and Switch and Wii and Wii U and Sega and Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and GameCube. Anyway, you name it, I probably have a good portion of it. So
you prefer Pac-Man or Mrs. Pac-Man?
Well, I mean, the game or the character?
The game.
So I'll probably always choose Pac-Man just because it's like, the original love thing. But let's face it, Miss Pac-Man was the better game. So it had, and sure, they just threw a bow on her. But I mean, other than that, like there's actually like the levels were pretty good. The moving fruit and the levels changing each time around, rather than being the same one. It just gets faster, you know. So oddly enough, not an official Pac-Man game. It was, you know, that's why it's never included on like those big collections and stuff now, because it was actually made, and I don't know the company. I don't remember if it's Midway or whatever it was, but regardless, so like it was an unofficial, but like it became official, but like now there's rights issues, and so yeah, anyway, it's just crazy. It's crazy. It was
legal folks.
Yeah, it was the Wild West back then, man. People were just doing whatever they wanted. So
what was it about Pac-Man? And I'm just curious, 'cause I love Pac-Man too. I don't have near the Pac-Man collection you have, but I do have some stuff. But what is it about Pac-Man that, other than the game, that just really drew you to it?
Well, first, it's a big, bright yellow ball, like right in your face. I mean, you can't miss it. But around that time, of course, it was popular everywhere. Now, so I'm 4 or 5 years old, and they're like, "Here's ice cream. It's got Pac-Man on it. Here's a cartoon, Hanna-Barbera. You know, it's Pac-Man. You know, hey, you know, got some pajamas. They're Pac-Man. You know, it was just kind of there. So it was like, he was my Mickey Mouse, I guess. You know, it was like he was the first like real cartoon character or like pop icon character that I really got into.
Okay.
And,
do you remember the cereal in the cartoon?
Absolutely. Yes. The cereal, I remember they had it originally, and I always love the art on that. I actually have a poster with some of that cereal art. Nice. But then they went and they did like the Super Pac-Man cereal. Like they added that to it. Got it just crazy back then, all the stuff. They did the Pac-Man pasta.
Oh my gosh,
with
yeah.
chicken flavor. You're like, ugh, chicken?
Well, that was one of those things, you know, whether it's, you know, Pac-Man or Masters or Turtles, or it seemed like back then anything that was popular, they wanted to put out as much merchandise as possible with that, you know, logo or information.
That was the beauty of the 80s, man.
Yeah.
It was like, you like this? Well, here you go. Here's everything.
Yeah, here's a lunchbox and a cereal and a cartoon and
here's a TV tray.
You go to
here's
like
a
the little
and
county fairs, and they'd have like the glass with the, you know what I'm talking about, like
yes,
pictures and stuff.
I actually have a giant mirror with like Pac-Man etched into it, and it's really terrible. Like the art is just terrible, but I love it. That's actually some of the best stuff, is when the art's really bad. Is like I kind of dig that almost more.
Some guy in his garage like trying to cash in on it.
Yeah. I actually ended up picking
this
up
is just
like
a yellow circle. I can do that.
You're right. You know, I mean, he was created over pizza. I mean, you know, looked at, oh, all right, yeah, that works. You know, one piece of pizza missing, and there you go. We have a pop icon.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll collect books on this stuff too. Like there's a Pac-Man book that came out, I think it was last year or the year before, and it's just so in depth and just beautiful. A bunch of art and like, God, it's so good. I love it. Yes,
roll through a little more video game stuff here.
All these crappy handheld ones. Yeah,
I remember those.
I want to say my oldest one in the collection is probably the real Ghostbusters one there. I remember getting that like probably like third grade or something like that. So it had to be like 87, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right as the real Ghostbusters was coming out. So, but yeah, and you can see some other stuff. There's Double Dragon and Simon's Quest and Gauntlet and Karnov. And of course the two turtles, the top turtles on the left there, the very first one, that's actually mine from when I was a kid.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it still has. My mom bought me this roll of stickers when I was a kid, and they were like these shiny stars, and they had my name on them, and on the back of it is still one of those stars. So yeah, it's very cool. And of course, a bunch of different versions of Pac-Man there. Some I haven't even opened yet, obviously, but you know.
Those little handheld games were so bad, but so good.
Yeah, I know. Right?
You know,
that was some of the earliest game rage I ever had, was playing those things.
I sucked, but you know, you had nothing better to do. Play it a couple times, throw it across the room. Your brother tries it, and you know, then he throws it across the room, and hours of fun, minutes of fun.
This picture to me is like just amazing. Like, not only that you have this much stuff, but just how like it's organized, and it almost looks like something that belongs in a museum to me. So,
and that's kind of what I affectionately call the basement here is
yeah.
my childhood museum. Most of the stuff you'll find down here all stems from that. So, yeah, this is it's cluttery. It's a bit. There's a lot in a small space there. You will. So Tomas and Emil came over to my house before we went to Legion's Con back in late October, early November, and like Tomas's thing was like it was like almost too much. There was so much hitting him at once. He's like, I can't focus. I'm like, I know, right? This is what it's like being in my brain. So,
yeah, you'd hate for one of those top ones to take a nosedive. That would be bad.
And it happens. It does happen. Yeah, eventually I'd love to, set up my collection so it looks a lot more beautiful. But right now it's just kind of crazy. It's kind of like a thrift store.
No, I love this layout. Yeah, that's why I picked this picture, because I just love just the insanity of how awesome all of that just layer upon layer is. I love it.
All that Pac-Man stuff, and then all the Mario,
Mega Man,
and Metroid, and
you remember the board game with the thing that would suck up the marbles? Not suck up, but like you'd pop the.
Yeah.
Like
Yep. I have that one.
Target released that a couple years ago. It's not as good.
Oh yeah, I ended up getting the one from Target. I've actually never opened it though. Just that's where I'm at now. Yeah. I just get it and never open it. But yeah, I used to play that game so much as a kid, and a few years back when when the kid was just starting to get into board games and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, we got to try out this one. So yeah, I don't know if she liked it or not, but she played it. So
didn't you just recently do like some of the Mega Man songs, like play it on a guitar or something?
I actually recorded a version of the Elecman stage music. Yeah, my dream is to have a video game, like an old school video game cover band. But
nice.
Yeah, it's really hard to find people that want to do that. So I guess I'll just record them myself.
I watched that one with it had the video, of playing the level on it. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's some of that. And, that's where a lot of my musical ideas come from as well, as a lot of old video game stuff. There was, so much that they did was so little, and it just, those limitations like bred some wonderful music, especially in the Mega Man games and stuff. But yeah,
this is cool too. Are these like knockoffs or
they're actually Glios figures?
Okay.
So like the Manor Monster Studios, the Battle Tribes and Warlords of War stuff, and these guys fall into that, and they ended up doing this tribute to Starman and the Amazon from Nintendo's Pro Wrestling.
That's awesome.
They came with a bunch of other pieces as well, but of course I'm not going to put those guys up. This is one of my favorite games as a kid, man.
You got somebody. Here's Destination Stone. We had them on a few weeks ago. Said they had no idea there was figures for pro wrestling game.
Yeah, like they're not 100% legit. Like they're playing with them, kind of like how they did the Masters of the Universe tribute figures and stuff like that. Like they're close, but they got the color schemes and stuff. So yeah, they're not 100% legit, but they are in my heart.
It is still really cool.
Yeah, very cool stuff. I would love to get 5.5-inch figures of those, some customs or whatever with Masters figures or whatever. I would love it.
And we've got your boo here, says Jeremy's basement is amazing. Never seen junk look so good. It makes him feel like a kid.
Yeah, it's always good when your close buddies come through and they're like impressed. You're like, all right, I'm doing something right.
Well, I think the thing that's unique about what like the pictures that you sent is it's not what you typically see from a collector. Like, a lot of times you'll see somebody's collection. They'll have like the USS flag and, a bunch of G.I. Joe things and stuff. Like you've got like some very unique stuff that I don't see in a whole lot of collections, or if I go to toy shows, you don't see a whole lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm drawn to very colorful, fun things, and of course Mario and like Pac-Man. They're
Yep.
very simple, bright characters, and like especially Mario, all the little the enemies and stuff like the Goombas and the Bob-ombs and just stuff like that. Like I love these little simple characters, and I mean it's hard not to get addicted to that. And of course, this picture is. Some people will say it's blasphemy, but yeah, they're the movie figures for Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, it was bad, but like there's still like this charm about it. Like knowing like Bob Hoskins was drunk through most of the movie is just kind of like that's awesome. Like it sucks so bad he had to get drunk.
I'd rather watch the Captain Lou Albano show and
Oh
cartoon.
yeah. If we could ever get some Lou Albano figures, like NECA, where are you? Like work something out. But yeah, and of course there was a custom Toad figure in there too that my buddy Tyke made for me. Because they never made a Toad figure, so
yeah,
he's back there.
I just loved the complete dichotomy juxtaposition of this picture.
And this is how my brain works.
I love it. I love it. Like
somehow I don't think this is what the Horsemen had in mind. I don't know. I don't want to speak for them, but
I don't know. You see Arethyr coming through a portal, and this little like four-eyed monstrosity comes waddling through next to him. I might be more confused than just pure terrified, but I'm as terrified as I would be.
There you go.
I absolutely love it. I don't know what the heck. I know what those are from. I don't know why, but
it's a McDonald's. Recently, they had those like adult Happy Meals, is what they called them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they weren't called adult Happy Meals. That's what we called them. And apparently, the art design was they just throw like four eyes on these things and kind of make the lines not so straight and whatever. And so we were like, that sounds fun. So my family was kind of trying to grab a few of them up, and he was one of the extras, so I got to keep him. And I was like,
nice.
we're gonna put these guys together. They're gonna hang out.
I love it.
We got a comment from Joseph here. Did you enjoy the Mario Kart trailer from Saturday Night Live?
Of course.
I would watch the hell out of that. Like, I know they were doing a whole spoof thing on The Last of Us, but if they made a movie like that, like where it's just stupid, like where it acts like it's serious, but they're making fun, like I would watch the hell out of
that. You mean like the 1993 movie?
Yeah, but that one was a little too bad.
Yeah, I feels you. But they're finally gonna be putting out that actual movie in a couple months now, and yeah. I am geeked for that so bad. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Got some He-Man.
Yep, a little more craziness there.
What's he wearing on his head?
So that's the
it's the Christmas one.
Yeah, the Christmas, the holiday He-Man.
Okay.
Along with like a shampoo bottle back there of He-Man.
Yeah.
Some of the little mini figures, some of the Keshi or whatever, the muscle tribute figures. There's a costume and mask back there. That is Stondar. It's spelled correctly on the box, but on the actual vinyl, because it had the mask and then like a vinyl sheet you put over you, and it has like the character's name on it. Like that's awesome. It's actually spelled Stondar on the. There's no E, so it's just Stondar on the.
I wonder if that was the same proofreading crew that's over at Horseman for the.
The unconed one.
Yeah, the unconed one. Yeah, and of course there's you can barely see them. There's some Burger King cups up there, and just some random yo-yos, and just some of the merchandise stuff is my absolute favorite. There's some total bootlegs in there too. Yeah, I just like some crazy stuff.
My holiday He-Man comes out at Christmas time and is part of the Christmas tree decoration. So
yeah, I take him from this shelf. I bring him upstairs, and he goes and hangs out with like the Gremlins and Clark Griswold and the Old Man and Ralphie, and Father Christmas was added to that now, and yeah, we have a nice little
awesome
Christmas collection going on.
Cool.
Yes.
Here we go.
I had to bring your Mad Balls in too.
Yes, thank you. Little bit of Maverick art back there too. You can see that skeleton back in the credits.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Maverick did that?
Yeah, Maverick did
That's
that.
cool.
Brought that to, I think it was MesquiCon last year. But yeah, these are some are legit Mad Balls. Some are, the 86 ones, mainly that middle kind of row there. That Slobulus on the left, the guy with his eyeball hanging out, that looks just destroyed. That's my actual childhood one. And then like 4 down on the right is one that actually looks good. And I found that at a toy show, but I couldn't get rid of my old one. It's like that has my childhood DNA. I played that. I threw that at my brother's face. Like that was the one. But yeah, and I love these too, like the knockoffs, the weird things, like just the I don't even know what those ones are. Like kind of on the right side near the bottom almost. Like what the hell? I found those at it was ToyCon in Jersey, 2021.
Yeah,
and I was like, these are stupid. I need them. Yeah, I love like gross, weird, odd, stuff like that. So yeah, these were always just a hoot. I mean, come on, it's a child's toy where like an eyeball is hanging out of its head and there's staples in the back of it, and like the 80s was wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this screams 80s to me. It's kind of like this and Garbage Pail Kids, like that would be the other one. Like, yeah.
Yep. And now they have like there's a lot of like potty humor figures, which is like I can get behind some good potty humor, some good fart jokes and whatnot.
Did you ever
but
see
like,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but like this, this is you can't do this anymore.
Did you ever see the one where it was like the catapult where you're trying to launch the little mini things into a toy toilet?
No,
I don't remember what they were called. I saw them at Target. They were on clearance, but they didn't have like the main set, so it was all just like the little. They were almost like little marshmallow size things, and you were trying to like fling them into the.
That's
toilet.
awesome.
It just looked like a lot of fun.
I can get behind that.
And then Nate's here saying he wished he knew you as a kid, but then it dawned on me that he does.
I love Nate so much. Oh, I have such a good time with him.
So now we got turtles, and we were talking earlier about when you started the podcast universe, there really wasn't a lot going on with Masters, and now it's multiple toy lines. I mean, you talk about multiple toy lines right now. Turtles is killing you. Like they got, what is it? Like 6 or 7 different properties that are going on, or lines that are going on with them.
Yeah, and the ones I'm collecting, for the most part, I'm getting most of the cartoon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Super 7 stuff. I'm getting most of that, which is based on the old toys. Then you have the NECA movie, 1990 and 1991. You have the NECA Mirage stuff that's coming out again from the comics. You have what is it? The Archie Adventure series. Those comics are starting to put figures of those out now. The Slash figure's already out. The Last Ronin. I mean,
then they've got those figures that they can't really call them the turtle names, so they give them like a season name or something. Like, what is it?
Right.
Like spring,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I have to draw a line somewhere, and some people think I'm crazy because I have like the whole collection of the rise of the TMNT figures, but like I'm not picking up the ones you were just speaking about, and those are arguably way better figures. But like, I don't know, man. Like,
you gotta stop
legit.
somewhere.
This is like legit over here. Like I have a weird thing in my head when it comes to my collection. There's no rhyme or reason, but
there doesn't need to be.
Yeah. People always ask, like, what? I don't get it. You'll collect this crappy. I mean, you look on the bottom shelf, like on there, like those are all just like bootlegs and like weird crap. Like, why am I collecting those? But there's something about it that just, I don't know.
I love the one,
I guess.
What's the one on the back? It says Super Dino Force?
Okay, so those are like ninjas, but like they're painted the colors of the turtles. But there's also like some like Jurassic Park bootleg looking dinosaurs in there. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like when you see those pop knockoffs from like overseas and it's like from, Iron Man and it's got like a Batman figure.
Right. Yes. Yes.
But it's like a complete. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I love that type of stuff. And there's also, if you, Nope, go back to the other one. If you look right next, there's a yo-yo kind of in the front, like above, like in the center, near the bottom. Right to the left of that is actually it's like a bar of soap, but it smells like the pudding pies that they had in the early 90s. Yeah, so like there's like a small group of people out there, but we all want these pies back, and so we'll take it in any form we can. And apparently, I needed the soap or whatever. So, yeah, very cool. I actually started a campaign. There's like a change.org thing going on about that. The Ninja Turtle pies, trying to get Hostess to bring them back. I think I got over like 1,000 signatures, but it's like 4 years old now. So
weren't you fighting for some fruit snack or something too?
I want Bonkers back. Yeah. And Wrinkles.
Wrinkles. That was the one I was thinking. Yeah.
They got no plans of bringing them back.
Did they just like tell you to get lost when you?
Yeah. They're like, nobody cares about this stuff. Go home. So, and of course, merchandise stuff here, a bunch of cups and Burger King things. And you can barely see it, but there's a TV tray under there, backpacks, cups, water bottles, cards. Oh,
was it
goodness. Lunch boxes?
Was it the blue TV tray where they looked more like the comic book versions than the show?
That one I don't have, but that's some of my favorite art. I loved when they did takes on the toys rather than like the cartoons. Like I love so all that cartoon art that's all over that stuff there, like I absolutely love it. They did it in house, like they had their Mirage guys doing it and stuff. Looks different, but I absolutely love it. But now like today they try to recreate that art and it is not the same, let me tell you. No. And it's like they're trying to tout that as being the 1987 art style, and I'm like, you are wrong.
Yeah.
So, I'm very particular about my art, even if it's crappy.
So out of everything that's out right now for Turtles, what is the thing that gets you most excited when it arrives at your door? You're getting ready to open it up for the first time. Which line, really does it for you the most?
It's hard. I instantly want to say the movie stuff, because they look so damn good. Like the Toka and Razar, like just absolutely blew my mind. So yeah, it'd probably have to be that. Although I'm getting really excited about the Mirage stuff that they're putting out now, the clone shredders and like a KC and just stuff like okay, I'm listening. And they're going to be doing a Jim Lawson version of the Turtles, so I'm like super geeked about that too. So yeah, I'll flip-flop between those two for sure.
I got the Secret of the Ooze 4-pack Turtles, and I'm just amazed at how it looks just like the characters in the movie.
Yeah, they're nailing it.
Yeah, it looks so good. And I was a huge fan of those first couple movies. The third one, but the first one especially, like I watched that so many times. There's on the VHS tape, there's a little Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning.
The baseball players?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could sing that song like start to finish right now. Like I watched that tape so many times. I can't believe it still was working towards the end, but
yeah, I remember renting that movie. It was just like over a weekend or whatever in like sixth grade. And I had probably watched it over that whole weekend like 10 times. And like, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like an hour and a half each time. And it's like over 2 days. Like, I watched it a lot. I absolutely love that movie. It's probably still my favorite comic book adaptation
it's so
to
good.
film. So
I was really disappointed when I got the DVD and that commercial's not on there. Like,
right?
Yeah. I was like, oh,
not cool, guys. Not cool.
Yeah, I was telling Jesse a couple weeks ago on this show that like me and my friend went down to the movie theater. It was $1 movie theater, and we watched it all day. We watched it like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
It was like so cool.
I can get behind that for sure.
That Turtles movie is how I got to meet Jeremy, because on Legends of Grayskull, their Offworld, we did the original movie, and I talked to Jeremy on there before I even knew what Mythic Legions were.
Oh, that's awesome.
There you go.
Watch that episode.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, Sean and Matt were like, "Oh, he's on this other podcast, and they do POTU and all this stuff." I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
He's on this other podcast, and we stole his whole idea for the podcast, and we're doing it ourselves.
If I didn't love those guys so much.
Real Ghostbusters.
Some real Ghostbusters. Now, real Ghostbusters, it's weird to think like how they really weren't as huge as the other stuff. Like it was there, and it was there pretty strong. Hey, Travis. But like for some reason, people don't like go back to it as much. I guess it's sort of almost like it wasn't that popular for some reason, but yet it was. So I don't know. It's weird, but I will say, going back and watching the real Ghostbusters cartoons, I tend to remember a hell of a lot more about that cartoon than I do almost any other. There was something about the designs of all the ghosts and the creatures and stuff like that. Like the artwork that they did on that show was phenomenal. And it's my favorite version of the Ghostbusters by far. So
I think looking back on it, that toy line with all the different ghosts and monsters and action features that they have, like there's a whole shit ton of tooling for that line that as a kid you don't realize, they're not, like each one of these characters they're making brand new parts for, but yeah, they had some of the coolest little action features, the football player that turns into the monster. And, like all those different things. And
even the Ghostbusters themselves, the fright features stuff, you squeeze an arm and their head pops up and just weird stuff like that. It's like,
or like the little ones that the ghosts that like pop on their heads or whatever. And
the
one with the eyeball that shoots out.
Yeah. And he was one of my absolute favorites as a kid. I love that guy, Bug-Eye Ghost.
Yeah.
Can we back up to Turtles real quick? I saw a question here and I forgot to bring it up before we moved on. Vonnie Rotten's asking what you think of the Mezco turtle designs.
Oh, those are freaking beautiful. They look wonderful, but it's a $400 price tag that I don't have. So, sure. Is it worth that price? Absolutely. I just can't afford it. But they are beautiful. They look great.
Speaking of price tag, though, what about the party wagon? Are you in on that?
No, nope. Couldn't do it.
I'm
not
other
really
thing
like
on top of the price. It's the spacing of it. Like, where would you put it?
I'm seriously running out of space, and you see some of that the merch down there, and I'm actually like trying to find ways of like justifying maybe getting rid of some of that stuff just so I can have more room for figures that I need for some reason. I have a problem, but it's not that much of a problem, but I don't know. It's hard, man, because you do start to run out of space and you're like, like vehicles, I can't justify a vehicle anywhere. But of course, then again, I just went and I bought the new Eternia that'll be coming out in whatever 100 years. And I'm like, I seriously have zero room for that at all. Like I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I don't know. I got problems. So
I love it,
but it's fun. So, whatever.
Oh, sorry. I totally cut you guys off about the Ghostbusters, but I remember these two and they always freaked me out. Like I didn't get to see Ghostbusters as a kid, the show or the movie. So I saw the cartoon every now and then. I like the one that had the gorilla in it.
Oh, the Filmation cartoon.
That's the fake Ghostbusters. That's
I know.
But they were first.
Yeah.
Arguably, they were first. They had a TV series, which I believe had Don Knotts on it, maybe. And they had the gorilla and all that stuff, and it was like in black and white. So that was like the first Ghostbusters that was ever out there. And then when they made the movie, they took the name.
Yeah.
But they're like, but they weren't sure if they could have it. So like they like would record different versions of it with them, like doing like Ghost Hunters or like Ghost, whatever they came up with it in lieu of being able to use the cool name. But what I love about the cartoon though is that, and of course the toy line that went with it. But in the cartoon, they make it so the cartoon version of them is the actual version, and the Columbia Pictures movie starring Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and all that was actually like just a take on their real life. so it made it like, I don't know, it just made it really cool, like how they were able to kind of pull that off. And
That's funny.
Yeah.
I maybe a hot take here, I don't know. I think that the second Ghostbusters movie is as good as the first.
That's hot debate with a lot of people, but I think they've softened it up over the years because like the female Ghostbusters movie came out, and now they have something that's like worse or whatever. Which, come on, that movie was fun. I don't care what anybody says. I laughed.
Chris Hemsworth was hilarious in it.
And if you watch the unrated version, like there's some good gems in that. So I think where they faulted is they didn't tie it in with the original, and had they done that, it at least would have been received better. Because arguably, Afterlife was badass, right? But the tone for Answer the Call was actually more in line with the original Ghostbusters movie than Afterlife was. So, but what was the difference? They tied it into the first two movies. So,
right.
But I will say, Ghostbusters 2, it's kind of the same movie. It really it hits all the same beats as the first one, but I will say, watching it, it's hilarious.
I enjoy it.
A little bit different tone, but it's a lot of fun. The whole
Ooze thing and Vigo and all of it.
Vigo,
Janosch.
I got taken to the movie theaters. My brother Ed was watching me. I was at my dad's house that weekend. Dad didn't come home from wherever meeting he was at, and my brother's like, "Well, I can't leave you here by yourself. You're too little." He's like, "I guess you're going to the movies with me." So we went to Ghostbusters 2. So I hadn't seen the first one.
Okay.
And it scared the crap out of me.
Wow. All right.
I was I didn't like Beetlejuice whenever that came out had probably been the scariest thing I'd seen. Whatever that movie with was it Cat's Eye with the little gremlin in the wall? The Stephen King book where there's like the little gremlin that comes out of like the mouse hole. I think Drew Barrymore's in it.
Oh,
I don't think I've seen that one.
That still makes me uncomfortable when I think about my memories of that as a child. But so seeing Ghostbusters 2 and the whole thing with Vigo, like his face coming to life, and
they're down in the sewers or in the subway, and then all of a sudden they turn around, there's a bunch of heads on pikes and stuff. You're like, oh my god.
Like the Titanic coming in,
going after Sigourney Weaver, and
the lady's fur coat that comes to life.
Yeah. I was very impressionable. Like Jabba scared me, not Jabba, the Rancor.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, it happens, man. There's some weird stuff that scared me as a kid, so I totally understand.
I was also 3 when I saw that in the movie theater.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. 89.
So now we got some masters. So you've got almost a full Eternia there, and yet you don't have the tracks, right?
Those are towers, and that's about it.
But I mean, what do you missing? The tracks on the tram?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh, is it?
There's like chains, and there's like the tram. There's of course the track. There's like various other vehicles, and I don't know, man. I honestly know very little about Eternia. I learned the most about it when I was drawing it last year for Action Figure Adventure. I actually learned more stuff that was on it. Like, oh, I'm missing that. So who knows? Maybe when I get the Origins one, it will replace that one or something. Who knows? I don't know.
Now, I don't know if maybe in the area that I live in, typically when I go to Walmart, Target, whatever, I don't find a lot of stuff. So I don't know if it was just that they didn't carry it when I was a kid, but I have no memory as a kid of the Eternia playset.
No, I didn't either. I only found out about it when I started getting back into stuff like podcasts and all that stuff, and rediscovering my love for He-Man. I'm like, what the hell? They made an Eternia playset?
And then when I saw it, I'm like, because when I think of Eternia, I think of the palace.
Yeah.
And so then I see this and I'm like, no, this to me, this is like something out of Thundercats or something. I don't know.
There's like a snake and there's like a lion, like this. What the hell?
Well, we have a joking question here, which is, do you dust your toys with your beard? But
I dust my beard with my toys.
There you go. But that being said, you do have a lot of loose figures on shelves. So what is that process like? Do you go through and dust these things on a somewhat basis, or
No.
no? Just let them
No.
sit there. Okay.
No, the only time I really am able to get through and dust the stuff is like if I take it down for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
Or, I'm like, I got people coming over. They want to look at stuff. So depending on how much motivation I have, I either start off with, listen, man, I don't dust, or I haven't dusted in forever, or I kind of get in there and try to do it. But yeah, it's not the best setup in the world because, yeah, it gets pretty dusty.
What about, since you do collect so much loose stuff, do you ever find, like at a toy show, something that is a little bit better shape than one that you have and upgrade, or do you just, once you have the figure, you're good?
Yeah, that's usually that's exactly how I go out and do it. Even if it's like a crappy version of a character, like a crappy, like it's just a bad shaped toy. If I don't have it already, well, that's going to have to do until I get a better one. So as I collected more, and at one point I had like triples and quadruples of Masters figures. I had so many that I had acquired. And at some point you just kind of have to look and go, all right, well, there's the best one, and like got to get rid of all these other ones. So
Gotcha.
Yep.
How did this, on topic, off topic, how did you feel walking into, what was it, Eternian Dreams or whatever at PowerCon last year?
Overwhelming, man.
Was that, yeah.
Just seeing all this stuff like as if it was still on the shelf back in the 80s. And you're like, just the price tag on some of that stuff, which I'm sure was well worth it, but it's just insane. Like a bunch of rare stuff, a bunch of stuff that, I'll never have for thousands of dollars, They had several Eternias,
Yeah, and they had one up, running through the
one
whole
running, yeah, and they just complete in, like, I know that PowerCon isn't necessarily a He-Man show anymore, but somebody forgot to tell a lot of the vendors that. You know what I mean? There was so much He-Man stuff; it was crazy. Lots of the Argentinian stuff, Argentinian stuff and stuff. You had your camo cons and the green and red Modulocks and just stuff like just crazy
Bluebeard Stratos.
Yeah, like pricey stuff, man. But very cool.
Leo Faker with the black eyes.
I must have really liked this picture.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
Yeah, he's
nice shot of He-Man right there.
All right, and that's the end of the slides.
And you say that about PowerCon. I know it's not exclusively He-Man anymore, but I still feel like if you want to go to a convention to see He-Man, that's still the number one go-to place. Like that's where you're probably going to see the biggest collection of He-Man stuff.
Well, what they were lucky to be able to do is build their name using He-Man. And when the support for that dropped out, the name was still popular enough to where all they had to do was just call. And people were like, I'll show up. And so that, the first year there in Columbus, having, a bunch of the He-Man vendors coming back, the Eternia Dreams and whatnot. But you also had just these other ones. And not that PowerCon didn't have like other toy lines too. It's just the majority of the stuff was He-Man. But yeah, like the quality, the amount of stuff, and it's already bigger. Like this year, it's already bigger. There's better, more vendors, and they're having exclusives this year, and even some of the exclusives are, kind of tributes to Masters of the Universe. So it's people still kind of have that headspace. And I will say this: the people that are hanging out there, they were a bunch of people that were hanging out in California at PowerCon. So it's still like an event. It's just we don't have like, Motu-centric panels and guests and stuff like that. Although Rudy Obrero was there last year. So
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
it's cool that the location has allowed a lot of folks to go that normally wouldn't have been able to if it was still on the West Coast.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
and then on top of that, now you have a bigger presence from the Four Horsemen instead of just them going and just having the PowerCon, debut figures.
hmm
Now they're going and they've got a full table full of stuff, and you've got a line out the door waiting to get in to see them. So
For a little while, they did.
yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah.
But they did,
Yeah.
they
But it,
started
but
off
it
the
brings
day.
in extra foot traffic for everybody else too.
Yeah,
I mean,
Absolutely.
if you arrive, to see the Four Horsemen table, you're not going to just do that and leave. You're going to walk around the rest of the show too.
Sure, you paid your money. You might as well check some stuff out. And
Right.
and God, that place had so much good stuff. Of course, seeing some of the stuff that you showed of mine. I was walking through that place finding Ghostbusters stuff and finding Mega Man stuff and finding little things, digging through bins and just that's thank you, like
Well,
give me
and
some
it's
bump.
nice that it's got a little something for everybody. Like if you are the loose collector that wants some sort of figure for $5 or a knockoff, you got that. But if you want a full Eternia in a box, and you've got the money for it, like that's available too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's cool. I know, like when I first got kind of back into adult toy collecting, it was really just vintage masters for me, and I was going to like online auctions and stuff where a guy was he'd pick up a lot from somebody and then he would sell like the loose figures and stuff. Well, eventually he started moving up, and then instead of selling loose ones, he was selling like mint on card ones, and I'm like, I don't have that money. Like I don't have I don't have $600 starting on a bid for Prince Adam in a box. So
see that's why I love the way that I collect, because I like to be able to play with my toys or whatever, take them. I want somebody to be able to come through here and be able to, hey, can I hold this? Can I check? Yeah, absolutely. Like, because boom, it transforms you. It takes you right there from when the first time you played with it or whatever, one of the happier times you played with that particular toy or whatever. And not that like box stuff doesn't look amazing, because it does, but it's not my thing. I respect it totally, but I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta play.
Yeah, there's something cool about the box art and the being on card that kind of reminds you of being in the toy aisle, and it is very cool. But for me, yeah, you gotta have it.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of like torture. Because what was the first thing you wanted to do after you got that box? Yeah, you wanted to rip it open and play with it. So, like hanging a bunch of stuff in box on my walls would just be like taunting me.
Yeah,
like open me, like ah! I actually sold off. I had an in-box Snake Mountain. And it had just been sitting there in the box. Like, art's beautiful, but just sitting there collecting dust for years. And I was like, you know what? Like, I have a complete one. It's open already. Like, I might as well just make some cash off this thing, Right. So it sucks because, it wasn't an artwork thing. I really do love the art, but like somebody else can appreciate that way more than I can. So,
yep.
Well, I had a question earlier, and Curtis bringing that back to having the inbox and taking it to your childhood and stuff. Did you ever? Oh, and getting into adult collect. Did you ever fall out of collecting, or did you kind of just stay with it?
It's weird because in my head I was like, I never stopped. But like, if I really look back into like what I was doing in my late teens to early 20s, like. Not maybe even a little before. Okay, so I remember I was still getting toys from my friends in like 8th grade, but I was like, don't tell my girlfriend, because I didn't want to get made fun of. I was getting like Terminator figures from my buddy, and he'd like bring me to my bedroom and go, all right, open them here. Oh, sweet, thanks, dude. And then we go out and and hang out with girls or whatever. So, but even then, I had a girlfriend at 19 that bought me a few Ninja Turtle figures and stuff too. So like it was never really 100% gone, but I wasn't following up on toy lines. I wasn't going out looking for figures or anything like that. It's just like, if I happen to go down the aisle and, oh, that's pretty neat, maybe I would get it or whatever. But what really kind of started it back up was the 2000X He-Man cartoon came out. And while I didn't have cable, I had a buddy who did. So I go and hang out at his place. And, you know, I'm early 20s or whatever. And like, I'm like, this is really cool. Like, oh yeah, well, you know, I have a whole basement. Like, I have all the old toys in tubs. So we brought them all up, and oh my god, I forgot about this. And then, like, I had started working at a new place, and still a friend of mine today. He's the singer in the Alice in Chains band, actually. He was talking about how much he loved He-Man and all this, and then we had another coworker who was like, I have a bunch of He-Man stuff I want to get rid of, and then he's like, okay, I'll buy that, and then we like got all those and checked, like, so then wheels started turning, and me and him ended up becoming roommates, and he was way into Marvel stuff, and you know, so he's pulling out all these old boxes, and we're just geeking. I'm like, well, here's my Marvel cards, and he's like, oh sweet, and we're just all this stuff, and he was like putting up shelves in his living room, you know, it was his first house, and, you know, early 20s, we're just having a blast, you know, we're getting tagged and, you know, looking at action figures all over the walls. So it was really kind of, you know, inspiring, but I still wasn't like full-fledged, but I had the bug, like I was ready to do it. And then of course started listening to He-Man podcasts, and it was over. Like, and discovered eBay. Like, that was a big one. Once I discovered that you could get anything from your childhood, I was like, oh no, like, here it is.
So were you in on classics from the beginning, or
no? I didn't find out about those until they were probably a couple years in. So my first, and I didn't have a lot of expendable money. I mean, I had a young daughter at the time, and my job didn't pay shit, and, you know, we had to take care of a kid. But once I started getting a little bit more expendable income, and like I'm listening to these shows, and they're talking, you know, Roast Google Dinner, I remember, was a big one, and they're talking about reading all these bios and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm like getting pumped. And I don't remember what year it was, but it was the one Iridessa was, or no, it was Iridessa. I'm thinking of a Tinkerbell thing that my daughter had at the time. It was Natasha. That's who it was. She was I believe the January figure of whatever year it was, 2012 or 2011, somewhere around there. And so that was my first subscription year. And then I had gotten them all from that point on. But I missed some heavy hitters, you know, Fisto, and these were kind of really the only really big one I don't have right now. But I didn't have Beastman for a while, and just, you know, Tila and stuff. Like, so I'd missed out on some good ones, which sucked. But, you know, I made up for it for the most part. Yeah,
for sure. Well, that's cool. The 2000X must have been the spinning weapons that drew you in. Was that the
what it was like? So I had my memories of the original He-Man cartoon, but I didn't have like a lot. Mm-hmm. But I did remember that I didn't get a lot of backstory for some of the stuff that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And this show immediately starts it off with like this serious vibe, like, you know, Keldor getting his face burned by the acid and all this stuff. That's how that happened. You know, I not knowing that there were other, you know, I wasn't well into the lore or anything. I knew what I remembered as a kid, you know, from being a kid. So seeing all this stuff, it just like, it made it exciting. And I love the art style too. Yeah, sure, they twirled their weapons and stuff, but like, so what? Like, they twirled their weapons. Like, it didn't bother me until people started talking about it later on. I'm like, oh, you know what? I guess they really did twirl. And then you watch it again and they're like, you're like, all right, dude. Okay. Like, stop.
Start fighting. Yeah. It was cool how they added some more story to some of those characters that weren't fully fleshed out in Filmation, like Stinkor. That episode was really good.
Yeah, they gave us some more like on Fisto, and of course, alluding to the fact that maybe he was Tila's dad and all this stuff. And you're just like, what? And I was actually blown away by, at the time anyway, the King Grayskull stuff. Like, I wasn't sitting there going, you know, talking about Hero or anything. I didn't know Hero or anything like that.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God, this is how He-Man became He-Man. Like, that just blew my mind. And of course now I'm like, yeah, King Grayskull's all right or whatever. You know, I got my own versions now. But like at the time, it really, like, it was like, there's a story here. There's some backstory, and then I got super geeked for the Horde, and
I think the moment that I had that was most like that kind of blew my mind was the comic book, The Icons of Evil, the one for Trapjaw, where you see him go from Chronoc,
gives him the uppercut and breaks his jaw and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
it was so cool. Yeah.
Yep.
You see him there with his jaw completely missing, and it's like, he was going against Skeletor, and now he's just beaten, and he's working for him.
and it's so weird because like you look back and you go like, who did those comics? And you're like, oh my god, there's like Val Staples, Emiliano's on there, Robert Kirkman's on there and stuff, and you're like, what? So it's just so weird. And like, and I know some of these people. I've met, sort of work for one of those people. Like it's nuts.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of Trapjaw, did either of you guys used to run him down like a zip line through the hole in his head?
Absolutely.
I actually never did.
Oh, really?
I knew, I had to know that it was an option because I had remembered it, but it was just something that we didn't like. We'd have to set it up, and then what? He slides down it, and then we'd have to take him off.
Oh yeah,
We were. Me and my brother were just like, nah, let's just fight.
That's how most of my battles began. I would like hook a line onto Castle Grayskull, and then he would be from like way up high, and like Trapjaw would be the first one in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think they used that in one of the commercials, didn't they? Where they had him with the hook in his head, where they slid down I don't know, maybe
I don't remember. Man, those were the best commercials, like the 80s toy commercials, like the actual commercials, not the show.
Man. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, good stuff.
I mean, you don't get stuff like that anymore.
No. That always reminds me of the what was it? Was it Sky Commanders?
Yes.
They had like they were like the little skinny bungee cord guys that had the different level of.
I remember them looking way cooler, and I like saw somebody was selling some recently, and I'm like, that's not
don't need those.
But they were cool back then, so
now go ahead.
I had plans that I was going to get a bunch of them, and I was going to hook up tracks in the ceiling so I could like put all the cords and just have like zip lines of these guys all around my bedroom.
I would love that. That'd be awesome.
Your family does some collecting too, don't they?
Oh yeah, yep.
They got. Go ahead.
It's my fault.
You got him in.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Laura, my fiance, wife, whatever you want to call her, the love of my life. She had like collections. Like she had a bunch of Native American dolls and stuff that she was had been collecting when I first met her. But arguably her biggest collection was her shoes. But as I don't know, she loved she's a little older than me. So her like horror movies and stuff were always like the creepier, like cooler ones. So when she started like seeing that there were action figures for that stuff, Exorcist and the old like Universal stuff, and and of course Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, like those were like, she really loves the horror stuff. So when we started, like I started getting a little geekier, she obviously couldn't not pay attention to the fact that all of a sudden I got like eBay boxes every day, and then I'd be like, but like they also have these, and we started going to like toy shows and stuff, and she'd be like, oh, that is awesome, and next thing you know, she's like got herself a whole room full of horror stuff. So I actually just picked her up just the other day. It was a reaction Exorcist Regan figure, but she's glow in the dark, but everything that glows in the dark is her puke all over her. So like, nice. I thought that was pretty sweet.
That's fake.
Yeah. And then so I also got her the Dracula, the Universal Dracula and stuff. So she's big into that stuff. Nosferatu and Frankenstein's monster, and especially The Shining, like a lot of Shining. Oh, I shouldn't. What am I saying? I should say especially Pennywise, because that's like her number one. Like it is her thing. And surprisingly enough, not the 1990 version. Like she does like that version and has figures of that Pennywise, but we both really fell in love with that 2017 movie and then its sequel. So did fantastic job. So yeah, she's got every single NECA figure of that, plus a hot toy, and I believe there's a Mezco in there. So like she's got a bunch of that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. And she can actually appreciate my stuff now. Like she can look at a Ninja Turtle and instead of going, oh my God, grow the F up, she can look at it now and go, I really like the articulation you did right there, blah, 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 and the paint job, and blah. I'm like, yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and
my language.
Yeah, and she actually listens to, you know, like my wife's gonna kill me every single Sunday. Like she's right there listening with everybody else. So yeah, she's an actual fan of it, you know, not just because I'm on it. So
nice.
Because arguably she would, listen to it without me on it. So probably enjoy it more. I think everybody loves Travis. So.
Well, you brought the whole family to PowerCon last year, correct?
Yes, and I actually had brought them to the final. It wasn't the final year, but the final year I went, the 2019. We all went out there and went to Disney and did that thing. So yeah, they both went out there and they love toy and in Michigan we have a ton of toy shows out here. There's like one every weekend somewhere. So I mean, damn near. Like I'm halfway, joking. Like seriously, there's at least one a month. So, so we started doing all that stuff, you know, and the kid got into a lot of stuff as well. She of course grew up with like me putting Ninja Turtles and He-Mans in her hand, but she also loved Tinkerbells and the Monster Highs and all that. And now she likes Stranger Things and she's collecting some anime stuff that I have no idea about. She likes some Lego stuff, and she has all of her old toys, all of those old, Barbies and like I said, Tinkerbells and all that stuff. They're keeping them in a box for her, but yeah. So going to cons and stuff, PowerCon and that like they really dig it. So.
That's cool. That's cool that they enjoy it, and it's not that you're just dragging them along for the ride and they're kicking and screaming, but they I mean, they're having a fun time.
I think maybe I might be a little more excited than them because of course I'm gonna meet up with all my gross old nerdy fat buddies. And, they're just going to be like, all right, well, those are your gross old nerdy fat buddies. So what are we going to do? And they love everybody they've met. Laura's been very, very happy with the fact that a lot of these people are just so down to earth and so accepting of who you are and stuff like that. And I think that kind of shocked her and she really enjoyed that. So she may still make fun of the douche like we all do, but at least she can respect the fact that he's a very cool guy. So
I'll have to try to send him this clip because he doesn't.
Yeah.
Since we don't do this as an audio version, he won't watch it. So.
Oh, there you go.
So we can say whatever we want.
Yeah, I was hoping that there's a way we could get a douche burn in here somewhere.
Oh, good stuff. Well, and now you're kind of at least with those the two, I call them main shows, the PowerCon and then Legion's Con. You're kind of a celebrity at both of these at this point. Like you're within PowerCon, you're very active with helping promote that. And then with Legion's Con, I mean, heck, you got your own figure this past year. So, what is that experience like, kind of going from just being a fan going to these shows to actually being a part of the shows?
I guess looking back at it, it's natural and like it makes sense that it did happen. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it did happen kind of blows my mind because I've never really felt like the important guy in the room type of thing. I've always kind of been like, oh, those guys are the cool guys. Like maybe they'll, say hi to me or something. And, and it turns out like everybody says hi to me. Like everybody wants to hang out or whatever. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of surreal and it's kind of awesome. Like, So the helping out with the PowerCon stuff, I would never have thought, like listening to Roast Google back in the day, that, you know, Val Staples would like reach out to me and be like, hey, Jeremy, do you want to help with this promotion stuff? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I like your ideas. You're funny. You do that. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm on your radar? Like, okay, you're going to regret this. And he doesn't regret it yet. So, I mean, I'm going to keep showing up if he keeps allowing me to. So that's very cool. I just kind of fell into that. The Legions Con thing, like, obviously I'm like, I have my Legions that I collect, but I'm not like the biggest fan. I don't remember all the names of the characters or anything. I think they look cool, and some of them I'll buy and some of them I'll just look at and go, hey, that's awesome. But when they were like, so I of course I joined the show late. They offered me the gig, and I joined the show, and then like not that much
late,
yeah,
because you've been a part of the show since the beginning.
Well, I
on and off.
They had the show going for years before I met them.
Oh, okay.
But when I started doing the Poe 2 and then started hanging out more at the toy shows with those guys and got used to them and all that stuff, I would become a more, you know, hey, you want to come on the show? I would never ask.
Right.
I would never be like, can I be on the show? Because I don't want to be, I don't want them to go, oh, you know,
right.
Oh, we gotta, like, Jeremy wants to come on. Like, should we let him? Like, I never wanted to be that. So when they offered me, you know, to come on the show, I'd always show up. But then they're like, you know, you want to be part of the show. Instantly, I'm like, yes. But then I went, what if people don't like me? Because, I mean, I'm not going to just assume that people like me, because, I mean, I know what my intentions are with other people and all that, but they don't know. So maybe they don't like me. Maybe they think I'm a dick. But I try not to be. So hopefully I come across as not one to most people. But regardless, so I'm a little paranoid. I'm a little sensitive. People know that about me. So I was really worried that, you know, I'd be the cousin Oliver on the show or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that extra character that, you know, they don't really need him. Like, why is he there? So I join and it works out. People are digging it. Cornboy was like, I thought you were going to suck up the show, but it turns out you're okay. Like, okay, sweet. And then like not that long after, they're like, here's toys of you. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't deserve that. And when I say that, it's not me just like trying to be humble because I'm, you know, got a camera in my face and people are watching me. Like, it's like, seriously, I don't know that I deserve that. But if you're going to do it, I'm going to accept it. So I'm not going to complain. I'm going to thank my lucky stars that people are going to, you know, being as cool to me as they are. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, I had people wanting me to sign like action figure boxes, you know, like because my toy was in there. Like, I don't think it's still like hit. You know what I mean? Like, I was holding the figure the other day, and I'm just like, and that's not something that I do normal. I don't just like come downstairs like, oh, I'm going to hold my figure, but I just happened to be like, I was checking him out or whatever, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen? Like, there's nobody listening to me, but I'm like, what the? All right, you know, I'm gonna accept it, man. I must have done something right along the way, so I'm not gonna jinx myself.
Yeah, to think about you around the time you were driving home from Legions Con 21, Jeremy was on his way home coming up with this set after meeting you at that weekend. If he hadn't met you before, you know, so like,
and how crazy is that? It's just surreal, man. I'm telling you.
Well,
like,
I just think it's interesting, like the whole journey, because, you know, we were talking earlier about you going to that first PowerCon, and you know, you guys have the figures, and you're, you know, playing with Skeletor and He-Man on the way up there to meet people like, you know, Etok and Cornboy and this and that, and now you've got people traveling across the country, some from other countries, to come and hang out with you and see your figure and talk to you.
It's insane. I mean, God bless the internet.
There you go.
You know, sometimes I'll crap all over it because, boy, it could be a cesspool of grossness. But like,
Got Cody on there.
Oh, what? You deserve it solely because you're the only one with 100%. I'm just happy to be there.
There you go. Yeah, and you know, I mean, I don't know how you could think that joining the show that people might not like you because you're just a lovable guy. I mean, you're just a cuddly teddy bear, and you're so talented with, you know, your art and music. And the only thing that I think has been kind of a downside of you joining the show is I think the other guys have made you a little bit lazy like them. Because you came in firing, man. You're like, you had toy news and drama, and you're doing research, and you're preparing for the show, and then now you're just like, I'm just going to show research.
Up. I still grab toy stuff and everything. I mean, I remember times showing up, like when I wasn't part of the show, and they'd be like, toy news, and I forgot to grab anything. Blah blah. You know, I still get up early on Sunday morning and grab some stuff for the show or collecting during the week. But yeah, I am not as you know, strong as I was coming in. Well, because I felt like I had something to prove. Like, if you guys are going to have me showing up all the time, people are going to be like,
let's see what this guy's bringing.
Impress me. You know? Okay, we're going to do. We tried. But I got to say, you know, you try to keep up with those three.
Yeah.
I mean, they wear you down. I mean, Cody's tried to quit a couple times now.
Keep pulling him back in.
And I'm new enough to that whole thing to, in my mind, you have always been a part of the show because, you know, I didn't really start listening to it till like last January, and you know, you were with them at the table and everything. So to me, you're as a part of that group as any of them.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
on the entry. You were my favorite host when I filled out that application.
I'll take that too, man.
Yeah, I didn't even. Now, when I did it, I didn't have that option because you weren't on the show yet. But I probably wouldn't be in the support group at this point because I would put you and Steven, and I would get denied because to me, you guys you guys are together, like, you know, because I love the Podcasters of Universe so much. Like that's my connection to that whole group. And like I just see you and him together, and like you two, it's like peanut butter or jelly separately. It's just not as good, you know. You just gotta have it together.
Well, and you know, if Po2 never came to be, I don't think that this connection with the Horsemen would ever exist. And you know, who knows, you know, like what it would look like now. We obviously wouldn't have figures, that's for sure. You know, that one chance, you know, Steve was a little nervous, you know, and I'll say he has come a little bit out of his shell since then. So I'll give him that. But that first time he was kind of nervous, and like, so I actually initiated the like talking with Corn Boy, like and that's something that usually like I wouldn't really want to do now. Like I could see Steve doing that more now. Like we've kind of swapped in that. So the fact that conversation happened, and then all those things led to, you know, them listening and all this stuff, and just
heck, I wouldn't be
invited to their studio. Like what?
Yeah, I wouldn't be listening to My Wife Is Going to Kill Me Now, and I wouldn't be into Legions at all had it not been for you forcing Steve to go live on those YouTubes where you show off the figures. You know, because that's where you guys showed off the Lord Dragul figure, and I reached out to him after the show, and he mailed me one. And that was it. It was game over for me. Like I was all in from that point on.
Yeah, buddy.
So, you know, the fact that you nag him enough to make him go on YouTube when he doesn't want to has introduced this whole line to me. So,
well, you know, I mean, sometimes you got to make your loved ones go through some crap to, you know, to please others. And he's pleasing me. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that he pleases you.
Listen, if I wasn't getting my needs fulfilled, let's face it, I'd still show up.
Well, 100% attendance. I mean, that's all you got to do. So even if you don't have news ready, you know, you showing up is.
Yeah, it's something. At least I'm there.
Well, and
I may not have much to say, but at least I'm looking beautiful.
You guys have also had a couple of contests that you've done in that Podcasters a Universe, where it's
Yep.
like create a character contest, and you just had one recently. A lot of creativity coming from your fans on the different things that they've come up with. What are your thoughts about how much interaction and just creative juices that have been flowing from your fans?
So I'll go back again to when I first started listening to, discovering podcasts and toy podcasts and stuff. Some of the most exciting things were like when some of those shows, and it wasn't, I can't remember the name of the show, but I remember there was like a video contest for one of them. And it was like, if you say why you're the biggest fan and blah, 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 like, and send us this video, you have a chance to win. I think at the time it was the Queen Marlena figure with Cringer, and a 3-pack of some Polly Pocket She-Ra figures.
Mm-hmm.
And like only 2 people entered, but I was one of them. And I won. And like I got super excited about that. And I just remember that feeling of like, oh my God, like that's really fun. And these are just normal people. Like, and it started good conversations. I'm still friends with those people to this day. So like I wanted to kind of have that feeling with our listeners, because our listeners, there's a lot of like really, really good people. I mean, meeting you guys, obviously, I know you don't listen to PO2, but I'll forgive you, Jesse. But like, just meeting these really good people, and like, we'd still do the show even if people didn't listen. But one of the biggest highlights is like meeting these people and sharing all these wonderful memories together. Even though we weren't there at the time, we both like had a collective, this memory, and we can all kind of share it. And so when we started coming up with ideas, just like I started just getting stuff like random extra figures and all that. I'm like, we should give some of this stuff away. Like, let's do it on anniversaries and stuff like that. And so we had the idea of a create a character contest. We've done that twice now. We also did one where it was like kind of like a get out of your comfort zone type of thing, and like, take a figure and take a picture of it in like an odd place, without being, dirty or whatever. Like, so we had people kind of going out of their comfort zone, and like, they'd be out in public and they'd put their action figures somewhere with like, a bunch of people around watching them, and it's just fun,
Like the back of a Volkswagen.
yeah. Like
yes, a Chevette. And then another one we had was like slime. Like, if you have any ideas, like use slime. Doesn't matter how you do it, just be creative. And some of the ideas people came up with like were so out of the box. Like, if you let people just do their thing without many guidelines and limits, they'll come up with some crazy stuff. And it's some of these, of course, going back to the creative character stuff, like that's where some of these people were really, really able to shine, and just seeing like how they would, a lot of them had like art skills and stuff like that, which was a total bonus, but it wasn't a determining factor by any means. Some people had some great bios and stuff, but it's just like the ideas for some of these figures, like, oh, God, that would have fit perfect in the 80s. Like, oh, why didn't this happen type of thing. And just seeing what these people have, it's just so good. And the fact that they're like doing it they're doing it because they get a prize, but the fact that they're like doing it for us, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, kind of when I have seen those couple character contests go on, it's made me think of like what those meetings must have been like at Mattel.
Yeah,
with the designers, where they're like, trying to come up with an action feature and a name for a character and all this and that. And you've got people doing that on their own, and some of them, like you said, like you read through them and you see like, what this character story and name and action feature are, and you're like, oh, I totally could have seen that fit in there. So really cool stuff.
And our recent one that we just had, like we actually had settled on a few others at first, and then we all kind of sat down together and like we're talking about it. We're like, what, like, looking at this one more now, like these are really creative. So we kind of changed our idea, like our winners kind of a few times in our heads, which was, hard to do because they're so good. There's so many. It's like, I want to give something to everybody, but you can't. And well, to be fair, I haven't set anything out yet. So eventually, guys, eventually. All these winners have to be like out of the country. So I got to save up $2 to send them some stuff out there. So,
well, I don't know why I didn't bring this, but for some reason, talking about this just made me think of going up on the G-Con table with you for the reveal of Maxilius, and just how like that's still this like surreal moment for me that I'm like, that Cornboy like tapped me on the shoulder to go up, and I got to be up there with you. That was just really fun.
They were like, the long-haired bearded guys got to get up there for this one. It was arguably one of the most metal figures that they showed off. So
yeah,
it made sense.
Yeah.
We may not be metal guys through and through, but we look the part, so that's all that matters.
I like Metallica.
Awesome. Yeah, there you go. Good.
There you go. Then you're good.
That was super cool, man. It's the second year in a row that those guys have invited us to G-Con, and we keep having a blast. So they keep wanting bringing us in there, man. I hope to see you guys there too, man. That's going to be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Pete keeps killing it on the, just especially closing out the show, and his interaction with Jeremy this year was hilarious.
Yeah, Pete's and he'll probably be the first to admit that he's not for everybody, but Pete is a great guy. He has a huge heart. He's just sometimes a little rough around the edges and a little loud.
Yeah.
But he did I've had some of the biggest heart-to-hearts, and he's so loving. And just like, even if you wanted to hate him, when he jumps out there and like does his thing, like he owns a room. And in this case, he owned a YouTube channel, for a while. And it's like, I don't know how he does it, but I envy it. And he does it spot on. I mean, were you both there when you did like the candy bar thing later on?
Oh yeah. I was there. Were you there, Jesse? When he broke?
I think I was just coming in for dinner, like right before the karate chop happened.
Yeah. And I mean, just him just like commanding a room like that, and like being so awesome to like Treadaway's kids, and just stuff like it's, sometimes you want to punch him in the face, but like right afterwards you want to be like, you did a great job, dude. So
well, it's one of those situations. Like you've got all these people gathered in the hotel lobby, and there's a lot of booze. There's a lot of people that, it's getting late in the night. And then here comes Eric Treadaway with his kids, and they're younger kids. Mm-hmm. And, it's a situation that, may have gone wrong. They may have, either observed or heard some things that weren't appropriate for kids, but instead Pete takes control and makes it exciting, makes it all about those kids. And like they had to go up to their room with the biggest smile on their face, and a 5-pound chocolate bar. So because when you're that your dad's kind of important or whatever, but he's still just your dad, right?
And that like all these people kind of dig what your dad does, but like that's your dad's thing. You're just kind of there for your dad. And he made that moment about them. Oh yeah. So they felt like really important, and they were put on the spot in front of all these, drunk adults, but like it was awesome. Everybody's cheering, and just like was such a good time, man. So
he's when he gets the spotlight on him, Pete definitely shines for sure.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He definitely does.
My favorite part of that whole moment though was after they broke it and he gave him half the candy bar, and then Pete handed the other half to Ben, and then Billy said, Billy goes, "It's a normal sized candy bar." and Ben's holding this thing like with his arms out to the side. Yep. It's like it's a normal sized candy bar.
He took it so well too.
It was.
Will White was like Billy Beige, man. He was the breakout star that whole weekend.
You wouldn't expect it. You look at the guy, and
no idea.
He kind of looks like from the Lord of the Rings movie, like before Smeagol turns into Gollum. He's kind of like, he's like somewhere in the middle of that, and then, but he was on fire that weekend.
Of the best stories and just his personality. Like I did not expect what I saw. So
Yeah.
Kudos to that guy for sure.
And I got to give props to Douglas Tupper for bringing those candy bars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I work with him at the comic shop. That's where I got a lot of mythic information before I really got headfirst into it between him and Sean. And he was talking about bringing those things and was excited to give it to these guys. And it was just great seeing him there and that like hanging out like right behind you or Pete in the chair by the window or whatever when that happened. And yeah, it was just
very cool.
That was a lot of fun.
And yet that whole time everybody's having a blast and blah, blah, blah. I just remember seeing one dude who was like,
oh yeah,
whole time, just one dude. I'm like looking over. I'm like, man, either that guy's zoning really hard, or he can't be bothered to smile tonight.
You must not like fun because that was a great time.
It definitely wasn't George because George smiled a lot.
No, I know who it was, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who it was, but there was one dude for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're rounding up near 2-hour mark. I know we talked about you're going to have some art and stuff at MesquiCon for sale. Anything else that you want to plug as we get closer to closing out the show?
No, I don't got anything to plug. No. I mean, listen to Poe 2 if you're feeling He-Man happy. I'll be there for you. Steve will be there too, I suppose.
Yeah.
You get a nice little Matthew Rodriguez here and there, and he's always fun to have around. Obviously, check out My Wife's Gonna Kill Me if you're into that stuff. If you're not, that's fine. We ain't for everybody. Just know that I still love you regardless.
There you go. So if you want some G-rated masters, Podcast Universe is the way to go. If you want some non-G-rated everything else,
yeah,
My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
I guess if you're up on the news, if you want to be up on the news for Muskegon, which is the town that I live in, I do a live talk show every the last Thursday of every month, and it's called Muskegon Tonight. And we talk about stuff that happens in Muskegon. I know it's not exciting for anybody who doesn't live in my town, but we do go live on the MuskegonChannel.com. We're going to be doing that this Thursday. Me and my buddy Andy O'Reilly used to be a huge presence on radio around here back in the day. I mean, I literally listened to a show when I was a teenager on the radio, like super cool. That's another one of those moments where it's like, somebody who I really liked, and all of a sudden now he's my friend, and it's so weird. Anyway, so if you want to know anything about our town or just want to see me fumble over some words, that's a good thing to check out too. So
awesome.
Okay.
Jesse, anything else?
Just next week, announcing next week, Stefan Delator, who I think has jumped in the chat here at the end.
Very cool.
Will be joining us on the shelf next week. But yeah, I'll be at Wolf King Customs table on Saturday at ZoloCon. Other than that, Mythic Minute Thursday nights in the Cabal. Yeah. Cool. How about you, Chris?
Well, I don't have anything else coming up this week. I do have. I will be at MesquiCon. I'll be helping run the Wolf King Customs table with Steven. I think he'll be selling his painted heads and I'll be selling everything else. He's
not going to be doing anything. You realize that, right? You're going to be doing everything.
He'll be the celebrity signing autographs and stuff, and I'll be taking all the cash. So
yeah. Well,
but yeah, it should be a fun time. So come on out and be good. I really appreciate you coming on, Jeremy.
No, my pleasure, man.
Enjoy talking to you.
Appreciate you guys reaching out to me, man.
Absolutely.
I love talking about me. It's really easy. It's like I know all the answers.
Hey, you're the subject matter expert.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if you don't know, who does?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes even I don't, but that's
fair.
That's okay. We're good.
Cool.
All righty. Jeremy, if you want to hang out I'm going to bump you out here as we wrap up. And if you hang on for a minute, we'll wrap up with you when we close the show. Otherwise, we'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks for having me, dudes.
Thanks for being here, Jeremy.
Yep, absolutely. I do see one question here. Will Wolf King Customs have the "My wife is going to kill me" cleaver? I don't have an official word from that, but I would say there's probably a pretty good chance. I will let Len know. It makes sense to have that there for sure. So I can't confirm, but I would say odds are a pretty good chance.
All right.
So.
Very cool. Well, Curtis, thank you again. That's episode 7 of season 2 of Shooting the Shelf, wrapping up with Jeremy DeWitt. I don't have anything else, so
That was good.
all right.
Good job.
Yeah. Good times. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you everyone watching on replay or commenting. Really appreciate all of you folks tuning in, being here. Yeah, we'll catch you next week. And until then, what's on your shelf? Oh, where's the button?